In the heart of Argentina, in a gritty, impoverished neighborhood known as Villa Fiorito, a boy was born who would one day change the landscape of world football forever. Diego Armando Maradona, born on October 30, 1960, was the fifth of 8 children in a struggling family. From the very start, life was a battle. Villa Fiorito, with its unpaved streets and tin-roofed shanties, wasn't the kind of place where dreams were easily achieved. Yet, for Diego, the dream of becoming a football star was never out of reach. Even as a child, Maradona had a ball glued to his feet. He played barefoot with his friends, using makeshift balls made from rags. By the time he was 8, it was clear to anyone who saw him that he was special. Talent scouts from Argentinos Juniors, a local club, spotted him and were instantly captivated. At just 10, he was already mesmerizing crowds during halftime shows with his juggling skills, leaving people in awe as they watched the kid who seemed born to play the game. Diego's professional career began at the tender age of 15, when he debuted for Argentinos Juniors in 1976. It took just a few games for the world to sit up and take notice. Despite his short stature, Maradona stood at just 5 feet 5 inches. He had the balance, speed, and creativity of a football genius. His dribbling was otherworldly. Defenders found themselves helpless as he slalomed through them, twisting, turning, and accelerating with an almost supernatural ability to maintain control of the ball. He had eyes in the back of his head, seeing passes that no one else could envision. In 1981, Boca Juniors, Argentina's most famous club, signed him. His time at Boca was short but electric. He led them to a league title, dazzling the crowds in Buenos Aires with his wizardry on the pitch. By now, it wasn't just Argentina that was watching, it was the world. The doors to Europe beckoned. In 1982, FC Barcelona, one of the giants of European football, came calling. Maradona's transfer to the Catalan club made him the most expensive player in the world at the time. Expectations were sky high, and Diego didn't disappoint, at least initially. His performances were jaw-dropping, weaving through defenders, scoring spectacular goals, and drawing gasps from the stands. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Injuries plagued his time at Barcelona, including a brutal ankle fracture after a reckless tackle. Even more troubling, Maradona began to struggle with off-field issues, including a growing involvement in nightlife and battles with authority. By 1984, his time at Barcelona had come to a stormy end. Yet, his story was far from over. When Maradona joined Napoli in 1984, the move raised eyebrows. Napoli was a club in the shadow of the richer, more successful teams in northern Italy, but Maradona saw an opportunity. For the people of Naples, Maradona wasn't just a player, they saw him as their savior. He embraced the city's love and passion, and they, in turn, idolized him like a demigod. Maradona's time in Naples would become the stuff of legend. In 1987, he led Napoli to their first-ever Serie A title, a feat that defied expectations and cemented his status as the club's greatest player. The streets of Naples exploded in celebration, with murals of Diego painted on walls, chants of his name ringing out in the air, and an outpouring of love so intense that he became larger than life itself. He would win another league title in 1990, along with the UEFA Cup, taking Napoli to unprecedented heights. But with the glory came darker days. Maradona's personal life began to spiral out of control. The pressure of carrying a city on his shoulders, coupled with his growing addiction to cocaine and his links to shady figures, took a heavy toll. His off-field troubles would soon eclipse his on-field brilliance. Of all Maradona's achievements, none are more famous or infamous than his performance in the 1986 World Cup. Playing for Argentina, Diego didn't just shine, he took over the tournament. In the quarterfinal match against England, Maradona scored 2 of the most iconic goals in football history. The first was the controversial Hand of God goal, where Maradona slyly used his hand to punch the ball into the net, fooling the referee. It was a moment of cheekiness and cunning that enraged the English and enchanted his fans. But what followed was pure footballing genius. Just minutes later, Maradona received the ball near the halfway line, dribbled past half the England team, and scored what would be dubbed the goal of the century. His blend of raw power, dribbling finesse, and audacity was on full display. Argentina went on to win the World Cup, and Maradona was crowned the king of football. He had reached the pinnacle of the sport, an immortal figure not just in Argentina, but across the world. But as bright as his star had shone, the fall was inevitable. By the early 1990s, Maradona's personal demons were catching up with him. His cocaine addiction had deepened, and his behavior was becoming increasingly erratic. In 1991, he tested positive for drugs and was banned from football for 15 months. It was a stunning fall from grace. His attempt to return to the game after his ban was a shadow of his former self. Although he had brief stints with Sevilla and Newell's Old Boys, and a final hurrah at Boca Juniors, the magic was fading. His body, ravaged by years of abuse, could no longer keep up with his mind. Maradona officially retired in 1997, but his life post-football was as tumultuous as his playing days. He struggled with health issues, underwent several rehabilitation attempts for his addictions, and remained a controversial figure in the public eye. Despite his flaws, the world never stopped loving him. He took on coaching roles, including a stint as the manager of the Argentina national team, but nothing could ever quite match the heights of his playing career.